Johnny Carson spent decades behind that famous desk, interviewing actors, musicians, and authors night after night. But every so often, a guest would walk through that curtain and completely take over the room. These weren't just funny people, they were forces of nature who made Johnny forget he was the host. He'd lean back, wipe tears from his eyes, and just watch, like every other person in that studio. Here's a definitive ranking of the 15 guests who made Carson laugh the hardest. Robin Williams, the human hurricane. Robin Williams didn't sit down for interviews. He erupted. Characters materialized out of thin air, a Russian philosopher, a Southern preacher, a Shakespearean drunk, all within the same 30 seconds. Williams treated Johnny's desk like a theater stage, grabbing coffee cups, microphones, and anything else within reach to fuel his improvised madness. Carson would eventually stop trying to steer the conversation and simply surrender, becoming just another audience member watching something extraordinary unfold in real time. Don Rickles, the insult architect. Don Rickles walked onto the Tonight Show set like a man who owned a controlling share of it. He roasted Johnny, the band, the audience, and anyone unlucky enough to make eye contact with him. The legendary cigarette box incident, where Rickles accidentally destroyed Carson's prized possession while guest hosting, led to one of television's greatest unscripted moments when Johnny showed up unannounced on Rickles' own set to settle the score. Their relationship thrived on mock disrespect. Rickles could say things to Johnny that would have ended any other guest's career, and Carson loved him for it. Rodney Dangerfield, the punchline machine. Nobody moved faster than Rodney. One-liner after one-liner, each delivered with perfect timing while he yanked at his collar like a man being slowly strangled by life itself. His entire persona was built around being the universe's most overlooked human being, dismissed by his wife, his doctor, his kids, and apparently every woman who had ever laid eyes on him. Johnny would try to ask follow-up questions and Rodney would simply steamroll through with another 5 jokes. Carson often just sat back shaking his head in genuine amazement at the speed and consistency of the material. Steve Martin, the absurdist. Steve Martin brought deliberate chaos to every appearance. Magic tricks engineered to fail. Banjo jokes. Deadpan responses to perfectly normal questions delivered with complete sincerity. His genius was the pause, that 3-second gap after saying something completely ridiculous where he and Johnny would just stare at each other before the audience finally exploded. Carson played the straight man beautifully, pretending to take Martin seriously, which only amplified the absurdity. Their segments felt like two comedians quietly delighting in a private game only they fully understood. Joan Rivers, zero filter. Joan Rivers came out swinging every single time. She trashed celebrities by name, dissected Hollywood vanity with surgical precision, and turned self-deprecation into an extreme sport. She said things other comics wouldn't dare whisper backstage. Johnny didn't just tolerate it, he encouraged it. He gave her room to push boundaries that were off-limits for everyone else, and their mutual respect was visible in every exchange. She treated the couch like a comedy club stage, and Carson treated her like the legitimate heavyweight she absolutely was. Jonathan Winters, the improvisation genius. Hand Jonathan Winters a random object and watch an entire civilization emerge. A pencil became a fishing rod. The fishing rod became a fish. The fish became the fisherman's furious wife. The wife became the boat. All of this happening live, with zero preparation, in real time. Carson sometimes had to physically interrupt Winters mid-character just to squeeze in a commercial break, and even then, Winters would stay in character through the pause. Johnny loved the unpredictability of it. With Winters on the couch, anything could happen. And it usually did. Bob Hope, the living legend. When Bob Hope walked through that curtain, Johnny genuinely lit up. Hope represented the golden era of show business that Carson had grown up admiring, and watching them trade jokes felt like witnessing a relay race between generations. Hope never coasted on reputation. Even decades into his career, he arrived with sharp topical material and timing that most younger comics couldn't match. They would volley jokes back and forth like tennis players who had been practicing together for years. Tim Conway, the slow burn specialist. Tim Conway's technique was patience weaponized. He'd take a mundane story, a dentist visit, a simple errand, and stretch it past the point of comfort, adding tiny physical details and microscopic pauses until the tension became unbearable. Then one slight eyebrow raise would collapse the entire room. Carson would be sliding out of his chair in hysterics while Conway maintained a perfectly straight face, completely committed, as if nothing unusual was happening whatsoever. That contrast was the whole joke. Richard Pryor, the honest one. Richard Pryor's appearances felt genuinely unscripted, even when they weren't. He'd move from outrageous to vulnerable within a single sentence, pulling the audience somewhere unexpected and making them laugh anyway. Carson didn't try to redirect or sanitize him. He simply listened, protected him from nervous network executives, and gave Pryor the space to be completely himself. The result was some of the most authentic television The Tonight Show ever produced. Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise controlled chaos. Together, these two were a natural disaster in matching suits. Whipped cream fights, water dumping, furniture destruction, and general mayhem that left Johnny laughing helplessly while trying to remember what his original question had been. Reynolds and DeLuise would arrive with a plan and immediately abandon it in favor of trying to make each other lose composure. Carson learned quickly that the only strategy was to ask one question and then step aside. David Letterman, the heir apparent. Before Letterman had his own desk to hide behind, he sat across from Johnny's and quietly dissected the entire late-night format with dry Midwestern precision. He'd mock the curtain, the desk, the ritual of the whole thing, and Carson would laugh along, clearly recognizing something of himself in the younger comedian. Their exchanges felt like a mentorship disguised as a comedy bit. Johnny saw someone who understood the craft at the deepest level, and he was visibly proud of it. Sammy Davis Jr., the complete package. Sammy Davis Jr. turned guest appearances into full variety productions. Impressions of Sinatra, Dean Martin, and half of Hollywood, delivered with flawless accuracy. Songs, dances, jokes, and instrument playing, sometimes all within the same segment. Johnny simply set him up and watched him take over, thrilled to share the stage with someone who had genuinely mastered everything. Bob Newhart, the quiet assassin. Where most comedians went loud, Newhart went quiet. His nervous, understated delivery pulled audiences in close, making even small punchlines land like thunderclaps. His famous one-sided phone conversations demonstrated how stillness and reaction could carry an entire scene without a single visible partner. Carson loved the precision of it. Newhart made every single word count, and Johnny breaking composure at Newhart's understated material was practically a nightly guarantee. Mel Brooks, theatrical mayhem. Mel Brooks arrived on the Tonight Show set and immediately treated it as his personal stage. He'd begin answering a question and somehow transition into performing an entire imaginary film complete with multiple voices, sound effects, and physical demonstrations. He'd grab Johnny, jump on furniture, and burst into operatic song with zero warning. Going to commercial barely slowed him down. Carson doubled over repeatedly, completely surrendering to whatever was happening. Harvey Korman, the art of falling apart. Harvey Korman turned losing composure into its own comedy discipline. He'd start a story, collapse into laughter, attempt recovery, then break again, creating a feedback loop with the audience that fed on itself until the whole studio was gone. His reputation for cracking up followed him from television sketch comedy onto Carson's couch, where even the smallest stumble could send him into hysterics. Audiences came specifically to watch the breakdown. Johnny quietly encouraged it. And when Korman's shoulders finally started shaking and his voice cracked, it felt like everyone in that room was sharing something genuinely special together. These 15 performers understood that a Tonight Show appearance wasn't just promotion, it was a chance to create something memorable. They didn't just make Johnny laugh. They made him forget he was working.